Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Observable Flutter. My name is Craig Labenz, and I'm your host. And today, we're going to be exploring yet another way to take your hands off the keyboard and have somebody else write your code for you. I guess maybe more like something else. I think there's a lot of promise in today's episode. I've seen a demo, it's up on YouTube, of what we're going to explore, and it's pretty cool. So I'm excited to dive deeper to really understand the nuances, the trade-offs, where the corner cases, how to not stub your toe, all of those kind of things. So let's get moving and get into it. Before we do that, do remember, folks, that this is the Flutter community, and we expect a lot of ourselves, and we deliver. All right. Today's guest comes to us live from Pakistan. Muhammad Hamza, goes by Hamza, senior Flutter developer. And I don't know if we have, I don't think this may be one of the furthest away, at least from me, geographically speaking, guests that we've had on the show. So I'm not sure what hour it is for Hamza right now, but I'm excited to find out. Hamza, welcome to Observable Flutter. Would you like to say a few words to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. I am really honored to be here. And as I think Craig has already mentioned my basic intro, I'm a senior Flutter engineer at Sastatigit. And Sastatigit is basically related to traveling. So if you're into traveling, you can explore it as well. Apart from it, I manage a meetup group in my country, Flutter Islamabad, Pakistan. So we host a lot of events and things like this. And I've been part of the whole community culture since 2020. So I was part of Google Developer Student Clubs, that is now GDG on campuses, and I've been part of Flutter Islamabad since 2020 as well. It got into Meetup 2 to 3 years later, but yeah, that was a little bit of my introduction.
Nice. Yeah. Well, certainly as the Flutter community, we're lucky to have you, especially given how snazzy the demo that you've already uploaded to YouTube is. So set the stage for us here. You've been working on an MCP server for converting Figma components into Flutter widgets. Now, there was somebody earlier in the chat who asked what MCP is. That question has been answered by other helpful folks in the chat, but this is a kind of communication protocol for LLMs to learn more information about the real world, to lean on deterministic tools, and hopefully be more reliable and execute at a higher level. And so this is to, convert Figma stuff, which is, of course, the absolute industry gold standard for UI design, into Flutter widgets. So what kind of stuff can developers expect from this tool?
Okay, so first of all, you need to keep in mind that this MCP server is not generating Flutter code for you. This is the misconception that it's generating or writing Dart or Flutter for you. It's not. It's basically extracting the design tokens, or you can say the valuable information from Figma file, the designs, the components, the frames, and it's sorting them down into a valuable information that your AI can consume. So whether you're using Gemini CLI or GPTs of the world, it can prepare a good context for them. And that AI is going to write code for you. So it's basically a prompt engineering from Figma to Flutter, but maybe in a more technical way. That's the simplistic definition of this MCP is. In terms of features and stuff, it can get you all the assets exported from Figma file directly into your project. So for example, the images are going to be downloaded into your assets folder. PubSpec YAML is going to be updated. And if you're maintaining any asset static classes for your path to all the assets, it's going to be updated as well. And it can write typical widgets for you. For example, if there are components in Figma, you can have buttons in Flutter. If there are full screens in Figma, you can have the screen in Flutter as well. So basic stuff can be translated from Figma design token into actual Flutter code.
That's so cool. Also, I'm hopefully done trying to destroy my desk while you're talking over here. I don't know how much of that everyone heard. Um, I remember being in the audience. I was at Google, but not yet on the Flutter team back in 2019 at Flutter Interact in New York. And there were, I'm pretty sure it was Figma, two Flutter demos there. Obviously, the LLM piece was totally missing. So they were trying to just deterministically interpret every single piece of information that a Figma component could have and figure out what is the Flutter equivalent. And multiple people had been working on that concurrently. Someone had like a 2-year long project they'd been working on and then watched someone else demo something on stage. And it was, this has just been kind of a holy grail for a long time. Recently, I've been having a lot of fun with the pipeline of just asking Stitch, Google's little simple UI AI, to make me some simple UI. I literally screenshot it. I give that screenshot to Gemini and say, write this Flutter code, please. And it's like pretty close. The problem there is that people are still way better designers than Stitch. And so that pipeline is limited by how good Stitch is. So actually connecting Figma to Flutter to Flutter widgets is just like so exciting. I can't even believe it. My wife is a great Figma designer. She's a great designer, great in Figma. It's like the pipeline of her vision to Flutter implementation could now just be like snap of fingers. So if you're ready, I'd love to start getting into it. Is it time to pull it up?
Yes, I'm ready. And as you start sharing my screen, I'll add to one of your points that you have mentioned. Actually, when this MCP was being written for the first time, I was on the same approach as you mentioned, that I was trying to convert those design token into something equivalent in Flutter, and then I realized there are like infinite design possibilities. So that's technically not possible for me to convert every design token into something that's equivalent in Flutter. We use Flutter's widgets, make up a combination of it, and we come up with a design. So, and then my approach changed, that rather generating Flutter code, why not I should provide some meaningful information to the AI and let the AI, does the remaining job for me. So that's where it got changed.
I see. Yeah, and I'm not surprised that you'd been kind of noodling around, like orbiting this problem space for a long time. Makes sense that you're the one to be implementing, the correct solution or the correct architecture in the 2025 context, at least. Okay, so your screen is up, and let's see what we got.
Okay, so first things first, you can use any favorite AI. It's not that I'm a Cursor fan. I'm not against anything. I've been using Cursor way before, Gemini CLI and Claude, so I'm really comfortable with it. That's the first thing. Second thing is we're just going to go through the documentation real quick so that you can have an insight that whatever I'm speaking, there might be some points that I may miss, and you can just go through the doc. It's simply the GitHub repository link, and you have a very detailed table of content in here, how it works, which I explained. It's written also there that it's not generating Flutter code, so that your expectations are already set that what it's going to do. As it comes to usage, you're going to need a Figma API key. So here's another information that this MCP is actually using Figma's REST API. So you got to be careful there that do not abuse the server with a lot of requests, because ultimately you might get rate limiting status code from Figma's REST API, and eventually you cannot have any information. This is how you set it up. It's pretty simple. You can just grab this whole object, place it in your favorite AI tool that you're using, and replace this key with your own. That's it. For Windows, it's given below. If you're interested in running it on locally, you want to see how this thing works, I've given a minimal local setup that you can use, and requirements, what do you need for to test it locally. And this is where you can get started, right? I need to increase the font size. I'm so sorry. There you go. I hope it's visible now.
Yeah, much better.
Okay. Right. So um, already Flutter has released, the rules for Gemini, Cursor, and all that stuff. So it means that that thing is a very valuable while you're using or doing vibe coding or things like that. So this is the point that I mentioned already in the documentation, that it's better if you can set up a couple of instructions for your AI while you're working for it. I'm using Cursor, so I have a couple of rules set up for me. I've given the example here as well if you're wondering that what it should include. Then there's first thing first, which we talked about, or basically I mentioned that it's actually translating Figma's information into valuable information for AI, and then that AI can write code for you. So first thing is that you know it, I know it. And Flutter, we have a very specific way of writing themes, typography, things like that. So this is how you're going to do it, and I'll explain it in a while that why it's in a very arranged manner. I'll come to this point later. You can use Figma Desktop, Figma Web. It can work for either of them. And since it's work on, you need Figma links. So you can get it via web, via desktop, both. So it's not a dependency that you need to have a Figma's desktop app. It can, help you write a widget. I mean, in simple word, we all know that everything is a widget in Flutter, but how to differentiate between a button and a screen. That's where the things changes in this MCP. Then, of course, full screen generation, and if there are any images included in that screen in Figma, it's going to download it. It's going to place it in your assets folder. It's going to update the PubSpec YAML, and so on. So that's one of the boring tasks for me. Downloading images, then renaming them, placing them in specific folders, things like that. Lastly, if you want to export assets explicitly, you do not want to write Flutter code or things like that, you can do that as well. There's a tool for it. And you might have guessed that this asset tool is actually being used in combination with the screen generation. These are the main four features, you can say, or tool calling in this MCP that in combines help you write Flutter code or design Figma directly into Flutter. There's a disclaimer about SVGs, which I'll explain while I'm in the Figma canvas, that why you should not prompt it to design this whole screen and export the SVGs. It's going to mess it up, like really mess it up. I'll explain it why it will do it. And I've given the disclaimer already. The more sophisticated or good designer you have in Figma, the better the information the REST API will return, and the better the AI will write code for you. So it means that it's not just a test for you as a Flutter developer, it's a test for your designer as well, right? So if your AI hallucinate, you can blame it on your designer. Hey, you did not design it well. I'm just kidding. Do not do it.
As long as I'm not blaming it on myself. That's all I
Yeah.
care about.
Exactly. Then use cases, I have I developed it like really 2-3 weeks ago. So I would recommend to not use it for any sensitive stuff. If you think it's a sensitive stuff, you can try it with MVPs or simple design, or for making you productive, things like that. And rate limiting, which is a very important factor here, that do not say it, these are the 10 screens and you have to design all of them. So either you're going to hit your model's token limit, or either you're going to hit the Figma's limit. Either way, right?
One, I think that kind of dovetails nicely with a thing that we were covering. Randall and I were covering a few weeks ago about how it's better to break up your project into small steps anyway. So it makes sense, that,
yes,
well, it makes sense. It's actually for different reasons, but it's congruent that you would, while exporting Figma components to Flutter widgets, would still want to take small steps. Plus, you can just review it more easily, have higher quality. Yeah, that all makes sense.
yep. And there's an acknowledgement because it's really inspired with Figma Context MCP. If you do not know it, you should check it out. The only difference is that MCP is framework agnostic. It's not for Flutter, React Native, or Angular, or Vue.js. So that was my inspiration, that I need to build up something that's specific to Flutter. So if there's something that can do the Figma translation for CSS, HTML, JavaScript, why not? It can do it for Dart or Flutter. So that's why I've mentioned Graham and its link in this GitHub repo. I really respect it. So that's pretty much it in terms of the overall view. Um, do I need to take a pause at this spot if we have any question? Otherwise, we can directly jump into the demo.
Great thought. We don't really have, I think we just have a lot of enthusiasm right now. We don't really have any open questions. So yeah, we can jump in, I think.
All right. So the point which I shared that, I'll come to it later on, is that why do we need to arrange the colors and the typography in a frame explicitly? Well, if some of you or any one of you have tried REST API Figma, there's a Figma API that can return you um, the colors and the libraries that you can see on the right. I'm sorry, I cannot zoom it in. If I press the command plus, it just basically zooms in the canvas. So I hope you can just bear with me. So the REST API basically returns all these things. Now, why there's a need of arranging everything in a design system pattern? Well, the catch is um, Figma's REST API won't return or won't get you the colors and the typography until they are published. And that's not the case most of the time because the design is internal to the team. It's private. Specific people are added to the designs, things like that. So that's a restriction. Why do you need to arrange colors and typography in here? Now you might be wondering that what if we do not have edit access to the Figma design, and what if we do not know how to do it? Well, no worries at all. If you are working in any team or any actual design system, design teams are maintaining DSM, design system management, and things like that, where they have mentioned all the colors, the typography, the font sizes. So you just need that information. For the sake of demo, I just place them here randomly. Otherwise, you can ask your designer where the design system, and you can grab it. You can start using it. That's the underlying reason of extracting the themes and typography from frames rather than from Figma REST API. I hope I'm not hallucinating, and you guys, and it's making sense for you guys.
Yeah, I'm following.
All right. So I have the app. I have the app up and running. I'll just remove the documentation to the separate tab. Um, I just cleared the counter app with the home page, and I'm using cursor. So let's start with the first thing that I mentioned, the demo. Let's start building up the theme and typography. So this is how it literally works. You can select the color frame. You can, if you're on macOS, you can press Command L. If you're on Windows, you can just copy the URL. And if you want a really manual way, you can just right click on it, go to copy as, and then copy a link to selection. So there are three ways of doing it. And then this is all prompt engineering. But before all of this, you need to set it up. I have already set it up in MCP setting, which is, I'm sorry, like this. It literally, my heart stopped for a moment when I saw it's not enabled. I thought, oops. So this is how you do it. I'm not going to open the JSON object because there's going to be my Figma API key, but you have that in the documentation. So
Wait,
once
you don't
this
want to
is
be
done,
like me and just show your API key to the whole world?
actually, I did that on YouTube channel and I blurred it and saying I'm dumb. So a lesson
Okay.
learned from there. Yeah. So this is the setup has already been done, and for me, just to save the time. And this is all prompt engineering. I have a cursor rule set up for me, which is I named it as fluttering. These are just for demo purposes. Of course, you can have your own one. And since Flutter has released their official one as well, that's really helpful. You can use those as well. So let's get into it. So I'll just prompt it to write Flutter theme for me using the colors and typography, and then I'll ask it to update the main.dart file for sample purposes. So we can compare it with the Figma versus what's in here, right? So I'll do it, and Craig, you can take on do the talking and stuff. Meanwhile, I type the prompt.
Sounds good. This is unrelated. Well, I mean, it's vaguely related, but just helpful enough. question in the chat about an MCP server for Flutter docs, and Randall demonstrated Context 7 when he was on Observable Flutter, but great to just mention it again. All right, so remind me where you're getting these links again. Did you like right click and copy them out of Figma?
Yep. I just select the frame and I'm on macOS. If I press Command and L, so it just copies the link. If
Okay.
you're on Windows, you can press Control and L. And if you're on web, you can just select this frame and the URL in the web, literal URL is going to be updated. So you can just copy it. So there are
I
like
see.
3 to 4 ways of doing it.
Okay.
So I just copied the link to the colors frame and the link to the typography frame. And there's the hint about the link being correct. How would you know that I have copied the correct link or not? You can see there's a random string in here. This is a file ID, and it's exactly after figma.com/design, and it starts from there. So if it's missing, it means that the link is not correct. You have copied something else. Second is it should include a node ID. So node is like this. It's 123-374. If that's missing, it's going to throw an error. The node ID is missing. So make sure that when you're copying a link and you're placing it here, just to verify it that these two things are available, because it's going to work on these two parameters. And I'm going to just pass my rules. I'm literally saying do not write any summary and docs, because models are really craving for it, and then they start writing a huge summary for what they have done and things like that. So I pass this in every prompt. Do not write any summary, any documentation, just get the job done. And
yeah, LLMs do love to respond like a high schooler hitting a word count on an English paper assignment or whatever language assignment. Like, that was an excellent question, Mrs. Krabappel. It's like, okay, thank you. Does anyone know who Mrs. Krabappel is? That'll be today's trivia question. First person to answer in the chat. Honor system, though, don't look it up. Also, I have no idea how to spell Krabappel, so I wouldn't even know how to look it up.
So it's calling these extract_theme_colors. It's basically the tool in the MCP. So because I developed it, that's why I know it. But you can have an idea that how this thing is working.
Okay, great. So yeah, it's cooking right now. I'm excited.
And,
so remind us exactly what is it doing? You gave it the typography and the buttons, and that's because it, of course, needs the typography for the buttons, because the buttons have text.
Nope, not yet. I have just given it the colors and the typography to set up the Flutter theme for us. And then it's going to, so that it can have a maximum context of the Flutter theme. And when I'm going to ask it to generate this widget for me, it's going to have all the colors, all the typography, the font sizes. So I do not need to prompt it again and again, use the themes from this file, use the colors from that file, things like that.
The exciting part there is that my brain is very smooth. There's no wrinkles on my brain. So your little color palettes are just the shape of buttons. So I thought they were buttons. Even though it literally says above them colors.
Yeah, that's my mistake. And a couple of hints while it's generating the code or writing code. I prefer my text variable to be like this. So heading 1, heading 2, heading 3. Whatever the name or variable name you want it to be in Flutter, you can just rename them. So for example, if you rename the heading 1 as heading large, the Flutter terminology, it's going to use that for your variable. So these names are going to actually help you out in setting up the colors and naming the colors inside the theme. It's not just going to be randomize everything.
Yeah, it makes sense. I was a web developer before Flutter, so to me the HTML constructs H1, H2, those almost feel like bedrock reality to me. And like anything else is just a weird approximation of that. So I would probably do the same thing.
Yes, exactly. So that's why I go with H1, H2, body 1, body 2, and then little label, right?
Yep.
It has generated files for us, and you can see the names, the primary background
Mm,
surfaces. It has all been captured from these frames, right?
nice.
From these frames, right? And the important part is, see, it first wrote surface light in lowercase, but when it reran the tool, it realized that in Dart we prefer camel casing for variables, so it just renamed that
Mm,
and till the bottom. And I have this documentation in my cursor rule, to use this 3 forward slashes for documentation
yeah.
if you want to write in comments. For app text, let me just close this bar. This is how it, we're just going to accept all the files so you don't see these red and the comparison
Hmm.
stuff, but this is just for the sake of explanation. So it has extracted the first theme, and you might be wondering, this font size and heights and the weight, it is all being extracted from Figma. So if I click on heading 1, and I show you its properties, so it's 40 font size, which is there
Yep.
in Flutter, and it's bold, so it has passed the weight as well. So this shows that all these values that you're getting is actually from Figma because it's using Figma's API under the hood, right?
Nice.
And if we move to app theme, there's one thing which every basically the width opacity API got deprecated recently. So
Hmm.
I'm just I'm assuming that a lot of LLMs are struggling with it in first go, but once I fix it with values, it's not going to do it again in the code. Same goes for with a couple of other APIs and stuff. That's a bit older information or context for LLM. So I hope you can bear with it as a developer. You can just get it done for it. In terms of errors, you can resolve it along the way. It's just made a little mistake with the class name. What else it has done for us? um, it has set up the text theme as well. It has set up the app, and yeah, important part, the Leto font family. It's again from Figma. So if you
Hmm.
click on this one, and my god, it's so much hustle, and it's Leto here. I'm sorry, I thought that I can click on it, I can see the properties on the right pane, but
Right.
there's like 3 clicks just to see the font family.
I've never
But
heard
here we
that
are.
described as hustle before, but I love it. That's good. You have to
Yeah,
work so hard just to
so
hustle.
so here we are, right? Now here's the last part. Since I did not mention it to that I have the font in my local project, so it's going to use Google font package, which you can see it's already doing it, and it's going to set up the font for you. So the point here is, it can literally take you 30-40 minutes just to set up these variables while
Yeah.
you're starting a project. And here I'm talking to Craig, and it's doing the job for me, and I
Hmm.
think it's pretty awesome.
Yeah. And just kind of to observe here, right? You started this command quite a quite a while ago now. I mean, again, way less than 30, 40 minutes. And honestly, that's even still a quite optimistic estimate. I think it's way more than 30 to 40 minutes. But we're maybe coming up on, 7, 8 minutes here. So it's important to just let it cook.
Yes.
Don't want to be too impatient.
Yes, because it's ultimately it's an LLM, so whatever it's doing, it's going to have the context of it for your future command. So once you give it the future
Mm,
prompt, it's going to have the previous context where the theme file is, where the text file is. So
yeah.
you don't need to prompt it to use theme from a specific class or colors from a specific class. So that's an important element here, and it's almost done. It's just going to ask me, to run Flutter
Mhm.
pub, to have all the packages, things like that.
Oh, one question for you.
Mhm.
There were a couple problems in the code, and you just manually touched them up. One thing that I've seen, and maybe this is a Gemini thing, because you said, are you using Claude Code?
I'm using Claude 4 in Cursor. I'm not using
Okay,
any
yeah.
CLI.
So I wonder if Claude does better at this. Like if I'm using Gemini CLI and I ask it to write a bunch of code, and it's just step one, and I'm going to keep going, but I notice a problem in it. I've I've discovered that if I manually make a change, the next time the LLM operates on that file, it is very likely to revert my change because it has its last version of the file kind of cached in the, in the token cache and whatnot. So you
Mhm.
were manually making changes here. Do you see those changes like not clobbered later on?
Nope. And that's because I'm using cursor. And
Okay.
the reason cursor, like why I was doing it, and it's not going to be mixed up with the LLM's context, because cursor actually indexes each line of the file. So if I made a change, its index is going to get updated in its own context. And even if I prompt it something, it's going to tell you that, oh, so you have updated the file. It's like that.
Mm-hmm.
So it just knows that you have made some change.
It's pretty good. It's pretty good.
Right? I'll accept everything. I just added one thing that was just the wrong name of the class of card theme data. So without making any change, let's see how this thing performs. So these are a couple of component sample which AI does some extra things for you which I did not ask it, so we can
It
ignore it.
always does.
It
It's
always
such a
does,
teacher's
to be very
pet.
honest. I agree. But what we needed was the typography, which is
Mm-hmm.
pretty close, and all the colors. And these are exact hex codes from
Yeah.
the world of Figma, right? And your theme is ready. You can just start developing your app. You have all the colors and everything is in place, right?
That's awesome. That is
All
so
right. So
awesome.
let's try something. Now we'll try to design this component. Now this component. And now here's a important thing, that if you really want to get the maximum out of this MCP, and you can have a better understanding of some of the types in Figma, just like you have type in languages like integer, integer, double widget class type, things like that. There are types in Figma as well. So this is a component type, this is a frame type, then you have vector type, you have image type, all these types. So
Mm-hmm.
if you have a component, it's going to be translated into a standalone widget in Flutter. That's that's kind of an efficient way. But if you do not have a component, it's just a random frame roaming around in Figma design, you have to prompt it very carefully that it's not a frame, it's a component. You have to design it
Mm.
standalone inside Flutter. So the better terminology in Figma world, the better it's going to be translated for Flutter world.
And that just stands to reason. They've all arrived at the correct abstractions and composability and whatnot. So it would be unsettling, I think, if that wasn't true. That like what Figma considers good organization, if that didn't help with code authorship here, like that would be unsettling. It's like somebody is missing the boat on something.
So I am doing the same thing again. I'm just giving it a button component link, and the prompt is create the button widget from Figma component link. See, I've mentioned it that it's a component type. So now it's not
Mm.
going to hallucinate between all the calls. It's just going to call the relevant tool call, which is analyze the component, inspect the component, and start generating the Flutter code. Otherwise, it's going to walk through the frame. It's going to see if it's a single screen, it's a single widget. What's I'm going to do. So it's heavily dependent on your prompt. So that's where you can utilize it. And I'll just let it do the job. And I've asked it to update the main dart with our sample rather than your sample. So let's see how this thing works. And yes, you are right. It takes a while, but while it's doing all the things, you can see what's happening in your project structure, so you can improve the next prompt accordingly. So even though you're doing nothing, you are doing something.
Hmm. I'm reading some interesting stuff in the chat here. We've got plenty to talk about this time while it works. Here's
Mhm.
an interesting one. Uh, Claudie Nell, we can all guess what their favorite LLM is wondering about flexible parameters to these widgets. So does the widgets that it writes from these components, does it have a concept of customization at call time, or does it just like kind of hard code them with not a ton of parameters?
Nope. It's going to make them dynamic, so you can pass in colors and text and everything manually. But I prefer having styles being inside the widget in form of
Hmm.
enums. So it's going to do that because I've mentioned this in my rules. But if you have not mentioned
Oh,
anything to it, it's just going to make it in a dynamic in a very simplistic way.
okay,
So it's totally up to you how you
got it.
wanna.
Can we peek at your rules file while this one works? I think that'd be interesting to look at.
Yep. So this is my rules file. I named it as fluttering. I don't know why. I just did it.
Nice.
Maybe Flutter plus engineering. So it's fluttering, something like that. And so, for example, there's an important part, which is which is this one. So I have a rule that says that if you are creating a screen that involves text fields, then there's a very important experience that the user should be able to close the screen by tapping anywhere else. So the
Mm,
simplistic solution would be, just wrap the screen with the gesture detector and make it unfocused. That's a simple way. That's a rule here. So up next, when we're going to, ask it to design the login screen for us, the login screen involves a couple of text fields. You're going to see that it's going to wrap the whole scaffold with the gesture detector. If it did not, then I would say it hallucinated. It's not my fault.
you're gonna be like Han Solo and Lando Calrissian over there. It's not my fault. They told me they fixed it.
Exactly. Second thing
Uh,
is, for example, I prefer, stateless private widgets over functional widget. And I guess I read it somewhere in Flutter doc as well. Um, so I have that rule as well in this rules class. I have given it a library for my architecture. You can give it your own library path. I've given it lib UI widgets. Some people have somewhere else. It uses that as well. And
mhm.
here's the one I was talking about, that prefer enums over string. So whenever
Mm,
it's writing a component that has basically writing a widget that has a couple of variants, it's going to utilize enums to define the styles and things like that. So that's my
nice.
preference,
Yeah.
right?
I
Mm,
also very strongly prefer not passing around magic strings.
yep. A couple of coding conventions. This is just for the sake of, I don't know. I just do not prefer having a lot of code in one file. So I just tell
Mm,
it, if it's a UI file, just break it down if it exceeds, over 200 or 250 lines. So it's going to create a private files alongside. Use the part and part of declarative to make them connect. That's like, it's just me letting the AI write a code that's less that requires less attention from me as a developer, and I should focus on something that's important, not something 200 lines of code and to break it, or widgets based upon string variations and things like that.
P.S. Little tip from chat here on the unfocus. There's a tap outside parameter,
Nice.
and I think that this basically does what you're talking about. I think there's a global gesture detector. I don't really know how else it could work, but yeah, baked into the text field.
I agree, and you learn everything. Every day you learn something new. I literally learned this today. I did not know about
Nice.
this tab outside, so thank you, Arsalan. Oh, okay, I think this is from my community. Yeah. All right,
Randall says
so
it's a recent addition, so don't beat yourself up too much. I
okay.
mean, beat yourself up a
Okay.
little bit, just not too much.
I get it. All right. So please bear with me with the main.dart file. I'm just using it for sampling and stuff. This is not how we are going to work actually. And I asked
Wait,
it
you
to
don't put your
update.
whole Flutter app in your main.dart file?
I generally do not.
Well, try hard over here.
Right. So this is how it has generated the button widget on the left. It still has its own sample. It's going to remove it once it's done. And you can see the variant, the one filled, the one outline. We have the same one here, the one filled, the one outline. However, it
Mm,
confused one thing with the disable variant. So in Figma, the disable variant has a less opacity of colors, while in code it has disable the button like in a typical disabled widget way. So that's like the one spot where I can say it might have hallucinated or something like that. But the components are actually being extracted from Figma into our Flutter code. And if you start diving into the code itself, so you can see it has used the enums and things, which were according to my preference, and it has made the style as dynamic. So if you do not need a design or you do not need a variant, you can utilize it in a different way. It's handling everything in here for me, and all the styles are in a separate file, which were again mentioned in my rules that if something is exceeding in a lot of way, you need to extract it out in a separate file, keep the code minimal, keep the code readable. So that's how it's handling it. However, I would like to point one thing, which is the height is 48. So it's not a random number. If you go to Figma, you select the component, you can see the height is 48.
Height is 48. Mm-hmm.
Right? So it's extracted it from Figma API, actually.
Nice.
Now let's accept all the files, and I'll just get rid of the samples that are, that are not our concern, I would say, or basically not our samples, which are this chunk of code. So here we are. We have the typography set up. We have the color samples and everything set up. We have our very own first button widget set up. And if you want, you can of course jump in and fix this in styles. You can fix the disable stuff if you want it exactly to match with Figma. But I'm fine with it because it's matching with the design. It's having that experience of disabling. We're good to go. All right. Up next, before trying another component, I would rather try the whole login screen so that we can start doing something complex. But here's that point which I mentioned in initial call, and people might make fun of me that, hey, he woke up, it was basically about the SVG's asset. And why I mentioned that, do not export them as an asset immediately. So here's the catch. Just like everything is widget in Flutter for a simpler term, everything is vector in Figma's term, right? So if you click on this divider, this little line, and I don't know if you can see it on the left side or not, but it says vector as a type, right? If you click on this Google's icon, this red part of Google's icon, and you hover it, the type on the left side is going to say vector. So almost every
I wasn't
little
expecting that to be 4 different vectors.
Yes. These are actually 1, 2, 3, and 4 different vectors combining one Google icon.
Well, that's a TIL for me. Oh my goodness.
Yep. And same goes for this Apple icon. If you just click on this top of it, it's going to say it's a vector, right? Now imagine if you just give it the prompt that this is the login screen, and go and start designing it for me. What it's going to do is it's going to export this line as a separate SVG, this line as a separate SVG, all these 4 or 5 as a separate SVGs. It's going to download them. It's going to place them in your assets folder. And it's going to mess it up. Everything is messed up. So the reason is it's a limitation on Figma's world. That's how Figma works. You cannot say it's a bug or something that's not expected, because that's how Figma works. So a workaround would be, what you can do is just get them out of the frame. So I've done it already. So I've just gotten both of the logos out of the frame, and now I'll do the same thing which I did while I was setting up the theme and colors. So I'll just copy its link, I'll go into the prompt, and I'll say export these SVG assets from Figma link, right? So I'll say it's a Google icon, and I'll go back, I'll copy the link again, and I'll say it's Apple icon. And the traditional thing, do not write any.
That's so funny.
Like this. Now here's a few things about SVGs while it's start doing it. First of all, you cannot use SVG directly in Flutter, so it means that it should know we need a package.
Hmm.
Second, it's SVG is a separate type from PNGs, JPGs, things like that. So it should be able to identify that I need to place them in assets. Then I need to have maybe a subdirectory or something like that. Because this is what we as a developer are doing, and it's really pretty boring, sorting down all the assets and specific categories and things like that. And last
Hmm.
part, all the assets are registered in pubspec YAML, so it should be updating all the pubspec YAML and fixing everything for us. And once it's done, which we should have these two icons in our Flutter code just ready to use.
So I have a question while it's going here. Is
Mhm.
it possible to just rasterize all these SVGs into a single PNG?
Uh, you can try it, but it won't. It won't work. Uh, I mean, I haven't
Yeah.
tried it, but why it's not going to work? Because let's say you have, you can have a frame in here. You can
Hmm.
place all of them in this one frame. I don't know if you can see the Apple's icon or not. Now, if you just
Low
copy this frame
contrast,
link,
but I know it's there. Yeah.
yeah, let me just do it this way.
Nice.
And now, if you just copy this link and you say there are two assets and you need to export them, the problem is you have not copied the link of these assets. You have copied the link of this frame.
Hmm.
So it's going to do the same thing again. It's going to see, oh, the person has asked me to copy the SVGs, and SVGs in Figma are vectors. So it's going to say, yay, I found one red, I found a yellow, I found a green. It's going to repeat the same thing. So that's why you need to group them entirely, and you have to say this is a standalone SVG, export it and place it in my code.
Yeah, interesting. I mean, with the SVG package, it's not terribly bad. I'm just wondering every time we display the Google G or the Apple, and anything that is exported as multiple SVGs, they have to all be positioned perfectly against each other, right?
Yes, so that's the reason that you cannot put it randomly in a prompt, to export an SVG. If the SVG is
Mhm.
scrambled, it's going to mess up your whole code base. Like not the code
Mm.
base, but it's going to download everything for you and just going to place them in assets, right? So let's see what it has done. Oh, does it make any change? Yeah, it does. So we have the assets folder created by it. We have the SVGs directory, and we have both the logos here. That's the first thing. If
Oh,
we
but they're
go
just one file. It's not 4 and 2.
um, one file, I'm sorry, I didn't get it.
You said that Google was 4 SVGs and the Apple was 2 SVGs. I was worried we were going to have 6 files in here.
Nope. That would have it would created 6 or 4 files if you have prompted it with this whole frame, because then it's not going to recognize where the Google icon is because it works on that vector type. So wherever
Mhm.
it's going to detect a vector type, it's going to see it's an SVG, right? But when I've exported it as a separate frame, I've prompted
It
it in a
knows that
way
it's all
that you
one
do not
thing.
need to worry it. It's a one thing. Just export it as an SVG. That's what it has done it for us.
I see. So then we have one XML document in there defining this SVG.
Yes.
Cool. All
Yep.
right. Well, that alleviates my concern when I was wondering about the rasterization.
Yep. And here's the Flutter SVG package and the PubSpec YAML being updated for us. And if you go to constant, it has already created a file for you,
Nice.
right?
That's
So
great.
if you use any package like Flutter Gen or something like that,
Hmm.
you can use that as well. It's just for starting a project from zero, from scratch. So all the things that are really boring when it comes to assets are being handled here.
Nice. One person earlier on, let me see if I can go back up and find this, immediately mentioned that what they wanted out of it. It was the exact same thing that you uh, told me before we went live, that they just wanted it to help them export assets. And I was like, this person's going to be happy. I don't see the message anymore, but anyway, yeah, you're delivering, you're giving the people what they want, as they say.
Now, one last catch before we prompt it to write the login screen for us is I'm asking it to update the button widget so that it can take an icon as a widget class, so we can use asset as an icon, and we can use icon class itself as an icon. Otherwise, it's not going to let us use SVGs for the social login buttons. So I'm just prompting it for
Mm.
that. Right. And meanwhile, we'll move towards the login screen, which is here. A few more important things. I don't know. I think I've mentioned it not. Yeah, but let's proceed with it. So I'll just copy this link. Uh, while it's doing the stuff, we can prompt it. The next thing is going to
For
be in
the
the
next
queue,
one. Nice.
and we can just start talking. Right. So
Can you submit a prompt as like a queued thing and have it automatically start working on it after the? You can. Nice.
yep,
I
yep.
gotta check
I'll
out
just prompt
Observable.
as many as I want. It's just going to be in the queue. I'm asking it, do not update main.dart. Otherwise, it's going to set up all the routes and things and whatnot. So I'm just asking
Mm.
it, do not do it. I'll do it myself. You just focus on the login screen. So I have noticed one thing while working with LLMs while I was developing this MCP. There's less what to do and a lot more what not to do. So I'm almost prompting it, do not
Oh
do
yeah.
this, do not do this, do not do
Yep.
this, just do this.
Yeah, that absolutely mirrors my experience, and sometimes I can't even talk it out of stuff. It's like no amount of begging, pleading, negotiating, anything will convince it to not just go into
Yes,
runaway freight train.
I agree. And even I still do not prefer writing functional widget. A lot of the time it's doing it for me like this, and I'm hating it. I'm saying I've told you in prompt,
I know.
I've mentioned in the rules, what are you missing, why are you not following it? So it is what it is. It's AI. It's like your little pet. That's it.
Yeah, you ask it not to do something, and it's like, I can't not do that for you, Hal. You're like, oh boy.
Exactly. So meanwhile, it's updating the app button with that icon as a parameter. It has the next prompt in the queue, which is the design the login screen from Figma frame. It's going to run it. Sometimes it gets stuck, so if it stays stuck for more than 30 seconds, I'm going to stop it and rerun it again.
Okay.
But meanwhile, if you want to review the code base,
Yeah,
it's
let's look at that
that.
button and how. Oh no, you already showed us the button. Sorry. Show us whatever
Yeah.
you want to show us.
So, for example, generally when you're doing the vibe coding and thing, you're almost a lot of time you're worried about the project structure, the way it writes
Hmm.
code, and things like that.
Hmm.
While here, I don't see it as a huge problem in terms of a standalone widget. It has a couple of parameters that I might need in future. It's handling everything in a dynamic way. It's handling the style in a separate file. So in future, if I add a new style, I do not
Hmm.
need to worry about extracting them in a separate file. It's getting a lot. It's not readable, things like that. And it has handled all the colors from what it has written in the start,
Yeah.
things like that.
This is really nice. I mean, it's writing good code here. I just like that it's writing the box decorations because that is a specific class within the Flutter universe that I can never remember how to write off the top of my head. And especially like border radiuses. In 7, 8 years of using Flutter, I have never written a border radius without having to look it up. So
Yes.
even though it's like, look how simple it is, border radius
Yes.
circuit, but like I don't know, it just always like I type border dot, I don't know. Okay, I had another question. It
Mhm.
was accessibility. Can you go back to app button dot dart? I want to see, did it make an accessible button? Let's see here. So we had a
I'm
size
not sure.
box. Yeah, it doesn't
It's
look
just a
like it.
size box. Nope. But I think you
Now
have
not a
mentioned it.
ton is
Probably
missing.
I should write it down. It's an important point actually.
Yeah, a great addition to the rules file. And it's really only missing, well, I'm not an accessibility expert. Honestly, I should be. at a
Hmm.
minimum, a semantics node here would get you a long way, and maybe there's more as
Yes.
well. But
So I was like, I was literally pointing it out that there should be like cementing or something. So
mhm.
yeah, I think it's stuck. Maybe let me just pause it real quick and open a new chat window just to be on the safe side. Working with AI is like this. I'm sorry, guys.
All right, up to what do you say? With icon as a widget param, so you can. Oh, okay.
In terms of colors, yeah, one thing I think I wanted to mention. Yeah, here we are. So you notice that in start, while it was writing the typography and theme for us, it used with opacity, and it was a
Mm.
deprecated API. And I just
Hmm.
fixed it only one time at that spot. And after that, whatever the code is being generated, it's on with values with the new API. So the context
Oh,
keeps on getting improved every
yeah, that's
time,
nice.
right? Um, Second of all is in here. So you notice those deprecation, the background, the old APIs, they're all gone. So the more you start correcting it out while it's writing the
Mm.
code, it's going to keep it in the context. Hey, we do not have background in theme data class anymore, so we need to update it.
Yeah.
It has updated for both of them. It has gifted me a light theme which I did not ask it, to be very honest, but it is what it is. You can use it.
Gosh, that's
Right.
so funny.
Um, so here we are. I think it has done something. I don't know what it has done. It has updated the button with that parameter of where it is the icon. Yeah, icon as a widget, right? So now when we start the login screen, it can use the SVGs as an icon and a simple icon library as an icon as well. So either way, because we have the widget class, right? So without further ado, let's copy the link and I'll say
This
design.
is the big one here. The whole
Yes.
screen. Now I forget. Is this the last part of the demo, or is there another thing after the screen?
It's almost the last. The rest is again the screens, but it involves this. No, not this one. Oh, where it is? Yeah, here it is. So it involved this image asset.
Mm.
So if we can talk it if we can say we can have. I'm sorry, if we have enough time, I'll just prompt this profile screen to be designed, and we're just going to focus on whether it's going to export this image assets on its way into the project directly or not, because it's not an SVG. That specific case, which I explained for those Google and
Um,
Apple icons, it was just for
uh-huh.
an SVG type. For any kind of
Right.
images, PNGs, JPEG, JPGs, it should be able to export them automatically for your project. That's
Yeah.
one point. Second point is in Figma, if you export anything, you have an option of scaling it in a various ways.
Mm.
So you can give it a prompt, give me, let's say, 1x, 2x, and 3x.
Yeah.
So it's going to export the image asset in all the three variants for you. That's the
Nice.
important thing, right?
Nice.
Let's see what it's doing. So it's creating the login screen for us. We'll just start reviewing it as soon as the folder is created. I'm not sure if it has done something in the past or not. All right. So the tool calling is still very relevant. Analyze full screen, then analyze the component, because it detected there are repetitive button on the screen, so it's not going to create the button from the scratch. It's going to use what it has done already. Then I don't know if I'm giving a lot of information, but this app prefix is in my rules. So some people
Okay.
prefer custom button, or my button, or whatever.
Mhm.
I prefer app as a prefix. So app button, app text field, app card. So app
That's
as a
what I do as well,
prefix.
to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah, that's my prefix, right? um, I'll see if it's doing it. I think it's doing it. Maybe it's not generating it. Let me just say again. So that's going to be the last part of for this thing. Although there are a few other components that you can try. Before this demo, I was just playing with it, and I tried this complex widget. It's not complex in terms of us being a Flutter developer, we can pull it off. But in terms of AI, this floating action button is actually
Mm-hmm.
floating. It's over a widget. And when I
Mm-hmm.
prompted it, it generated it in a very efficient way. The only difference was it was not in that much
Right.
height, or it was not balancing. I was really impressed with it, but it took a lot of time. So I just kept it last in the list. If we have time, we'll try it. Otherwise, we're just going to focus on the last step, which is this image. So here we are.
Yeah, we have
So,
about 20 minutes left. And
yep.
that'll include our
Uh,
kind of our sign off and final questions and everything.
yes. So hopefully this is going to be done in 20 minutes. Yeah. The folders and files are being created, so I hope it's going to be done in 20 minutes. Someone is trying
I'm
drum
just
roll.
reading some questions here while it works. You've talked about this quite a bit, but maybe we can just kind of review and hit this over the head. So Abdullah says it's not always possible to find every Figma design token broken down into components like this. Yeah, not everyone who has ever opened Figma is organized and knows all the Figma best practices. So how do you get the best possible outcomes using this tool if you aren't giving it the best possible Figma file to start with?
Yeah, so if you do not have any component and it's just a file with all the screens, what you can do is you can give it a prompt to design a few screens for you, and you can add additional prompt that if you see any repetitive frames in it, just extract them out as a component. So if you give it as a login screen and a registration screen, it's going to see there are text field being repeat. It's going to extract them as a widget for you, and buttons as a widget for you. So the pattern, you can prompt based upon that patterns, and it's going to work for you. I did it for setting up the routes. Some people prefer, on generate routes. Some of them are using named routing. So in terms of routing, since it's related to UI, it has no clue about writing. So I just prompted one way that whenever you're connecting screens, just use named routing for me, and it just start doing it for me, right? All
Nice.
right, so I think now we need drum rolls, probably. Um, all the files are created, everything is done. I'm just going to replace the home with the login screen, and I'll just wait for the summary. Again, it's writing a summary. I literally asked it to not write anything. And here we are.
Wow.
So only one nitty gritty, which is basically this. Okay, let me just accept all the files first. This
Yeah. So wait,
container.
what even is? You've looked at this more than I think the rest of us. So like, I don't even
Yeah.
see the
So
problem.
I just literally removed the container because there was no container behind the button, and fix the size. And
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
you can see that gesture detector is there now because it's a text field kind of screen,
Uh-huh.
right?
You asked it to do that.
Yes, exactly. It was in the rules. So now if we compare it with our Figma design, which is here, and let me just bring the simulator over the Figma. Here we are. Couple of small things I would say. First, there are label on the text field, which it missed.
Mm,
It
yep.
automatically added this toggle button for password field,
I
which was
like
not
that.
there in Figma. That's good. The button is exactly the primary button. The OR divider is really, really close.
Yep.
The login with everything is set. So I think it's pretty much what
It's really
we as a developer
close.
are doing. So let's take it back.
Yeah.
And
One
now in
thing that I
terms of,
find it
sorry,
almost seems like it would be good to focus on just a text input as a component first, right? Because it's off on that in a couple ways.
actually I have this for this purpose, but I missed it. I don't know why. Now you mentioned it, I realize I had the component. Why I did not ask it to write the component first? But you got the
Mm,
drill. And in terms of code, it's Again, preferring those private files with part and part of declarative because I asked it to do it. And you might have noticed the text field has been taken out as a standalone component for this screen because it detected there are like two frames doing the same thing, right? Social
Mm.
buttons are extracted out. Again, the height is from Figma. Everything is here. And this is the total login screen code looks like. And it's using the conventional, or you can say the typical
Mhm.
way of maintaining the forms using controller. If you have any specific way of writing the forms, you can have that in the rules and it's going to follow that as well. So I use that Flutter form builder package. I'm really fan of it. And I have all the rules in my other projects and it just follows those. But it's really great for MVPs. It's functional. uh, it's not having those overlays generally when you have the screens going below the keyboard, and the
Mhm.
functionality works really cool. And it's the email text field, so it has that at the rate type because it just
Right.
it's just there, and the password field, everything is there, right, with the toggle. So that's how the login screen can be created. Now I'll just prompt the last thing because I think we're very short on time. So I'll just ask it to write the login screen. We'll see if the profile screen works or not.
I'm looking for a comment I saw earlier that I had a similar question but didn't ask you, and then someone in the chat asked the same thing, and I want to give them their due by actually clicking their message. It was about these hard-coded sizes, which of course came from Figma, so they're not terrible that it's hard-coded, and it's certainly understandable, but those numbers are going to maybe not be so valid if a person downloads this app on their tablet. You need bigger numbers. So it's kind of outside the scope of this MCP server and probably this episode to think about UI scaling and adaptability and whatnot. But whatever person asked, and I apologize, I keep skimming and not finding it, about those hard coded sizes, yeah, you're definitely on the right page there, and you probably want to have some standardized way in your app that you hit the media query and find out the size, or use layout builders to figure out what your available space is and figure out a multiplier to put on that original number. That's how I do it, at least.
Yep. So while it's doing the whole thing for us, I'll mention a few things. I have a few issues open up on the repository, which me as a noob, because I have no idea about MCPs yet. I'm still working on it. Um, I just realized that in Flutter we have golden testing and snapshot testing. So if in
Mm.
some way we can have this, you know, I don't know if I just opened it yet, or
It's
is my
almost like
internet lagging?
evals. Well, it's interesting to think, yeah, golden tests on an LLM's output. I don't know if I would want to do that. That just sounds like constant failures. But
Yes,
it's an
exactly,
interesting
exactly.
thought.
Exactly, and that's the reason I think I have mentioned this. Yeah, it was for me, so I mentioned this as a threshold to run it only 2 times because it will just keep
Mm.
on doing it again and again and again. But imagine if it has ran the golden test 2 times, the design would be really close to what you want from Figma. So it
Mm-hmm.
would be like really close to what you really want. That's the first thing it came to my mind that I have no idea how I'm going to do it. Maybe it's even possible or not, but second thing is about project awareness. Still, we're using rules for it, but maybe if we can have something like project wizard markdown structure, where you can mention how you are placing your widgets and your screens, and it's going to just read this file and without hallucinating all the paths, all the namings, it's just going to follow it.
Mm.
That's an important thing which I think it should do rather than me prompting it every time, hey, you need to create the widgets in following files, following folders, and whatnot. Then responsive design, of course, which I think you raised the point, is that even though it's picking up the hardcode values from Figma, it still uses a lot of times spacers and flexible to make the design responsive. That's the LLM doing it for us, but we need to have a fallback solution via major query or something like that, that it should adopt to make the design as responsive as possible. So that's again on the list. And I think in misc improvement, I have duplications and things that doesn't really matter. But yeah, so I'll accept the files. So where the profile screen? Let me just look at myself before I embarrass myself. But yeah, we have profile screen, we have profile header, section, and item. Let me just replace the main directly so that we don't need to worry about it. Oops. Okay, it's pretty close. It's not perfect, but pretty close. The asset job is done, which we were
That's
concerned
great.
about,
Yeah.
and it's in assets and images. And now here's another thing: the whole address to somewhere a random road on America or in UK is because it's the name of the image
Right.
in
Right.
Figma. Again, right? So it's using actually Figma API. So whatever there's in the design, it's just going to assume that it is what it is, right? So it means that you should ask your designer to have good names for the images and stuff. Then it should have updated an asset. This is an extra thing which I think it should have maintained in one file, but it has an
Mm,
asset class separately and
from
an
the
SVG class
SVG. Yeah.
separately. Yeah, it should be one file in my opinion. Um, in profile, the header is pretty matching the text. You can say that the tiles only have the transparent background, and it
Yeah.
has passed in a gray background. So I'm assuming it's the item probably, which is this one, and it has. I do not see any color. I'm
Yeah.
not
I
sure
don't know where that came from either.
why it's picking up the color. Hmm. Oh, I think it's no. This is what happens when you use. It is this one, but why it's picking up any color? There are no colors in here.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm trying to.
Let me just remove this material for a while.
Can we look at the list where these are used? Make sure they're not wrapped in
Yeah.
some builder there.
Oh, here it is. I think. Yep.
Yeah, there it is.
And we do not need the borders. We do not need the radius. In fact, we do not need the container at all because it's just a column. So let's see what we have. The icon library, that's another point because in
Hmm.
Figma, the icon library is, I think it's view SX or icons SX, something like that. And I have not mentioned it in prompt. So it's using the material icon, which is the default by Flutter. So it's
Hmm.
trying its best to match the icons with the
Yeah, the
options.
closest. Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever icon there is, it's just trying its best to match it. But I think it's still really helpful that it's set up the basic structure for you,
Hmm.
and you just need to polish it, finalize it, and yeah, that's pretty much it about the whole demo.
Incredible. Oh my gosh. This is great. All right, I'm gonna look over the questions that I've starred here. I did end up finding the original responsive
Mm.
comment. How would you avoid hard coding the things? But we hit that in the but an
Yeah.
astute thought. Um I had the same thought, Sarah. This just feels it's like it's not really related to widget book, because widget book would just consume code that you could write in any way. Yet I had the same thought that like um maybe it's just that I'm kind of generally too lazy to actually to like set up a component library in my Flutter apps in such a way as to lend themselves to widget book, and then this would remove that excuse. But I had the same thought. And then
In
Randall
fact,
asked earlier. Oh, sorry, you go. Yeah, yeah.
yeah, in fact, related to the last question, I was really worried when I looked at the Flutter Gen library, which I think the Flutter team is working on nowadays. So they are
Mhm.
working a widget catalog that is consumed by the LLM to generate the UI for you. When I came to know about that repository, I was worried that I think Flutter team is already doing it for me. But I think someone from Flutter, from that team, commented on my issue that no, we are not writing Flutter code. It's something different. So and I was relieved that yeah, I'm not on the same track. So this is not this is writing Flutter code, and widget book and things. They are basically an inventory of the widgets that you can use in your app.
Yep. Now, Randall asked, I didn't even catch the TypeScript, but I presume it's the MCP server itself. But where was TypeScript in here? I didn't even catch it.
I think Randall is on the GitHub repository. The MCP is written in TypeScript.
Aha.
And to answer that question, Randall, there are only two reasons. Number one, I have no clue how MCPs are written, so I asked AI what's the best language for it. Second, the Figma context MCP is written in TypeScript, so I just follow along. I am not an expert in TypeScript, so I have used a lot of AI to write this whole MCP, and I was just validating that it should work, it should not hallucinate. That is it.
That's fair. Gosh, it is the AI writes the code that the AI uses to ask the AI how to find the thing so that it can write the more things, and then the AI will read that, and it's like, what are we? Why did I get out of bed? What am I doing here?
Yes, exactly.
That's so funny. Okay, well, Hamza, thank you so much for joining. What a wonderful demo. High deliverable, like accuracy today. You were worried about the LLM kind of going off the rails and producing something crazy, and it just basically missed like 2 background colors, and that was about it. Just so great. Do you have any closing thoughts before we wrap up?
Not really. Actually, I'm looking through all the notes, and I think I've mentioned all the important points. The rest is, of course, guys, yeah, give it a shot. Let me know if it's helping you out. If there's something that you guys can contribute to. I've already opened a few issues, and I'm not a TypeScript expert. So if there's a TypeScript expert out there, he or she can jump in. Other than that, yeah, that's it. I had no idea. I did not have any clue in my mind while writing this that it would end up in Observable Flutter. That's it. That's the
Oh
conclusion.
yeah, earlier in the thing you were saying that you've been working on this for just like the last couple weeks. I was like, wow,
Yep.
that is fast. You got to a finish line like 2 to 3 weeks ago, and here we are. But
Yes.
no, yeah, so well done.
Thank you.
Randall says we get out of bed to prompt. That is increasingly becoming true. All right, folks. Thanks for bearing with me while the show was off the air for a couple of weeks. We had a team event that was really fun, and I think I just had some kind of clerical error a couple of weeks ago. I was annoyed by that because I knew the team event was following. So Observable Flutter had gone cold on us all for a little while, but I'm enjoying being back already. And Hamza, thanks so much for joining. I do expect that I'll be in the saddle again next week, like usual. Also, like usual, don't have any idea what I'll be talking about, but maybe I'll figure something out during the week. And everyone, until then, happy fluttering.